Perfect. Hey, everybody, Sean O'Connor here, and I have returning guests and returning guests and returning guests, Josh
I'm back
Rountree with
again.
me. Yes, a three-peat, a three-peat.
That's right. I'm trying to set the record.
Oh, you're gonna look, I'm gonna annoy you at the end of this for when you're coming back and when you're coming back after that. I won't spoil it, but I'm gonna get you. All right, we need to talk about the Summer in the House of the Departed. This is your novella that was just released not too long ago. It is a bit of a departure from The Legend of Charlie Fish and The Unkillable Frank Lightning as far as this reminded me so much of like my favorite Ray Bradbury stories. Holy cow, Sean. Ray Bradbury stories where there's this, I don't want to call it melancholy nostalgia to it, but I will. I mean,
Oh yeah,
it's heartfelt and a little heartbreaking, but it also captures this perfect moment in time in 81 when, I mean, let's spill the beans. It's essentially you.
yeah. Pretty much. Yeah, and it's definitely a different sort of animal than the Frank Lightning and Charlie Fish books. I think Summer in the House of the Departed feels a lot closer to the vibe that I get with most of my short fiction.
Yeah.
It feels kind of like just a longer version of a short story that I would write. But yeah, I'm always like hunting down those kind of melancholy vibes when I can get them. I love that. I like melancholy stuff, and I like sort of ambiguous endings. So that's kind of my two, big things that I keep falling into in a lot of books. But yeah, this the little boy in there definitely. This is completely a work of fiction, but it sure does mine a lot of my memories from that time.
All right. So I don't get over my skis because I have so many questions to ask about your youth, about your grandmother. But if you will you tell everybody what the novella is about so we can set the stage before we get into it?
Yeah, for sure. So just really quickly as background, my when I was a little kid, my grandmother was a ghost researcher. This was like the late 70s, early 80s. And so she always had a lot of cool and interesting books on the shelves and things going on. And I just, I kind of used some of my memories of that time to write this. And it's basically about a kid named Brady who is spending the summer with his grandmother in her haunted house. And they're kind of, out in small town West Texas. And, she's writing a book about, she has a series of books about the supernatural. She's working on another. But she's also dying of cancer and is trying to figure out some of the mysteries of the afterlife before that happens. And it's seen through Brady's eyes is he's watching her navigate that, and he's trying to figure it out. And Brady can see all the ghosts in her house, like he is in touch with all the people. And so the first half of the book is set when he's like 8 years old in 1981, and the second half is him coming back in 2025 and trying to figure out what exactly happened then and what's going on in his life now.
Because, and this is no spoiler. We won't spoil anything, Josh, because I absolutely want people to pick up the novella. It's a quick read. I mean, we're if memory serves correctly, we're less than 100 pages.
Yeah, right at.
You get right into it. It like just absorbs you from the very first page. But we're essentially trying to solve, or Brady's trying to solve the mystery of what the hell happened to this town, what happened to his grandmother. I mean, the town just essentially disappears.
Yeah, that's in the first sentence, basically. Like, what some of the things that she's doing end up making this town basically vanish. She's sort of researching Roanoke, and so some of that's kind of tied in. But yeah, it's there are side effects to messing around with the magic in the story.
That is what I come to expect. Sorry to put the pressure on you. That's what I come to expect and to love from a Josh Rountree work of fiction, is that there are stakes involved. Just because we have novels and novella that deals with kids, it doesn't mean that there aren't life or death stakes here. I mean, just The Legend of Charlie Fish, The Unkillable Frank Lightning. I mean, you love to kill people. You really do.
I mean, what can I say? Guilty.
Guilty is charged.
Yeah.
we won't spoil anything, but I want to kind of blend the real life, what was fact and what is fiction, and then what is kind of an amalgam of the two. So, w- was the house a Victorian and old Victorian?
No, that's completely a product of my imagination. I just thought it would be a nice, cool, creepy
Oh,
house to have out
such a
there. Yeah, I mean,
great
it's
gothic touch.
something that was built out there by, a cattle baron in the late 1800s or something. I felt like that would be, and it would give the history that the house needs to be haunted by ghosts from several generations. But no, my grandmother lived in like a mid-century ranch. Nothing quite so haunted, but she just developed an interest in that stuff. I guess in her middle age, and she taught folklore. She taught high school, and she taught folklore, English, and Spanish. And so I always, her bookshelves. Brady can kind of see some things on her shelf, and I always remember seeing like really cool books on my grandmother's shelf. She did not have all the black magic books that I mentioned in here, but she had all the cool '70s stuff, like Crystal Skulls and UFO abduction and Amityville Horror, and just the stuff of the era that would have been popular if you were into like supernatural stuff. But people just started coming to her with their stories. They found out that she liked it, and she would collect stories. And she used to tell them to me when I was a kid. Some of them, she would always kind of caution, "Yeah, there's I've got some stuff I can't show you, can't tell you, but I can talk to you about this." Because I was a little kid.
Yeah, you're a little kid. I
Yeah.
love the fact that your grandmother basically, she kind of becomes this figure in the town, and honestly a bit of a legend if people are seeking her out to tell their stories. Okay, did you ever see a ghost in the house? Were you ever, or did you ever feel a presence?
No, her house was not haunted at all in real
Okay.
life.
All right. I just want to make sure.
Not at all. And I spent plenty of time there as a kid, so I would know if it was. It was not haunted at all. I all of that was a fiction, just to kind of be able to put everything in one place for this story. Um, you know, the she did have a ton of you know written case studies, audio cassettes with recordings, interviews she did with people. She'd say things like, "Hey, listen to this one. We put this tape recorder in this room, and this is a little ghost jumping on a bed, and all you hear is like somebody jumping on a bed, just like weird stuff like that." She had all kinds of photos, and a lot of I have some of her stuff still, and a lot of the stories, all of the ghost stories that people tell each other in Summer in the House of the Departed are stories she told me. Like I pulled those straight out of her things that people had related to her, including the photograph that changes.
That freaked me out so much, and the fact that, the photograph, if you make a copy of it, the copy changes as well, right?
Yeah, I have the original and I have some copies. I haven't seen anything in a really long time, right? But it's something that she never showed me when I was a kid, but everybody in the family knew about it. It's basically a photo, and somebody had sent it to her, and she sent copies to 4 or 5 people around the country, and they would get on the phone like every month and figure out what had changed, and they could always go, "Okay, now there's this, now there's this." It's really weird.
It's
But I
so
have the
funny.
original and I have some copies, so I may distribute some copies here at some point and see if I can uh, find out if it's doing anything again.
Oh, I think that's fantastic. But
Super creepy.
let's I think the viewers and the listeners are gonna say, "Oh, okay, yeah, ghost hunting," because we're so used to it now in 2025 with, all the reality TV and movies and TV, just all of it. It's
Yeah.
really just become part of the fabric of our, reality and pop culture. But
Mhm.
back in the late 70s, early 80s, your grandmother would have been coming into it. I mean, this is like coming off the heels of In Search of with Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah, totally. And she didn't have a ghost box and all the other stuff you see on TV. She literally had a pad and pencil and a tape recorder, and a camera. I think she really mostly approached it from a position of a folklorist. Like she wanted to collect these people's stories, and whether they were all true or not, I don't think really was the point. It's just she liked collecting the stories, and when people asked her to come check something out, she would go out and check it out. If that meant whatever that entailed. And so yeah, it was just if from some of my earliest memories, it's always something that I recall. And I know that prior to that, it wasn't something that like she grew up and that was a thing. It became a thing at some point, and she kind of followed that for a while. So
Unbelievable. I mean, just the passion that she must have had for it because there really weren't very many resources for it back then. You just had to strike out on your own and,
mhm.
trial and error. That's it. I mean, this is pre-internet. This is,
Oh yeah.
combing the shelves of your public library for resource material and research material. I'm so blown away by the dedication that your grandmother had, for this hobby essentially.
Yeah, and I've got newspaper articles they wrote about her. I've got audio interviews that she did for radio shows and stuff. So there's still some cool stuff around that I can still pull out every once in a while.
Well, let's get into the book itself, though, because
Mhm.
honestly, I mean, your grandmother is fascinating, but I want people to pick this up. By the way, everybody, just take a look right down below. You're going to see the link to Josh's Instagram, so please follow him. And you're also going to see the link where you can pick up Summer in the House of the Departed, along with The Legend of Charlie Fish and The Unkillable Frank Lightning, both of which I've read and reviewed. And, 10 out of 10, no notes. Love those books. This I'll tell you a little story. So I September and October, every single horror author out there decided I'm going to release a novel or a novella or a collection of short stories.
Yeah.
I try to I I really, really bit off more than I could chew, and I just tried to read them all. And I had a TBR that was, 2 feet high, and I would just churn through them. And there were times, because I have a regular job, and I would take a stack of books with me on my sales calls, and between calls, I'd read 10 pages here and 10 pages there. But I want to give you a compliment, and this is no disrespect. I really loved everything that I read, that I have been reading and read, but I would settle down, and the last thing that I would read would be Summer in the House of the Departed because you're one of my favorite authors. And this was so different from your two previous novels, yet so comforting and similar because of the way you write, because of your prose. You have this uncanny ability to write from a child's perspective and their voice. And I'm not blowing smoke, Josh. It is right there alongside McMurtry with Lonesome Dove, and it's right there alongside King with It. You have this uncanny knack where there's no false notes.
Well, thank you. I mean, that means a lot. Uh, I don't know what to say. I really appreciate it. It's I
True.
do my best, and obviously, McMurtry is one of my favorite writers. King, I grew up reading King, so those are wonderful comparisons. And you mentioned Bradbury. This is definitely me trying to do Bradbury. I mean, this is I'm trying to capture that sort of gilded edge of childhood kind of thing that he does so well, but put it in like dust storm West Texas where I grew up. So
There were times where I was looking for Jim Nightshade on the page. It felt so familiar and comforting. And it's just, you also capture the atmosphere. Um, you know, West Texas town, and I could feel the heat and I could feel the dust and the grit. But it's almost like a love letter to that time period and that place. I'm not going to spoil, well, I guess we did a little bit, but I won't spoil it further about what happens within the confines of that setting because a lot goes on in 100 pages, a lot happens. We are jumping, from the past to the future. How was it? I want to ask you a couple of questions about the process of that because this is the first Josh Roundtree work where we have that going back and forth. We've
mhm.
got two distinct different time periods. How did you tackle that, and was that a challenge to delineate those periods?
Yeah, I kind of kept the same voice of both because I came at it from a position of, okay, Brady is sort of narrating his present and his past. So I didn't really change the voice from young Brady's section to old Brady's section too much. But yeah, it's a story that I really wanted to write for a long time, and I thought it was going to be a short story. And I'm talking 10 years ago, I wrote the first 3 or 4 pages of that. And it's taken me this long to figure out what I wanted to do with it. But when I finally sat down and got dialed in on it, it came in a rush. I wrote that right after the Unkillable Frank Lightning, and I wanted to do something a little different before I, maybe took a stab at another one of the weird Western books or something like that. And I really wanted to write this. So I just kind of sat down and tackled it, and I was probably halfway through the first section. So the book is split in 2 sections pretty much equally in the middle. And I was probably 25 or 30 pages into that before I realized, okay, I'm going to have to talk about what happens to Brady later. And I started thinking of ways that I could take the 2025 section and really make his situation mirror what his grandmother was going through in the earlier section. And once I kind of figured out I was going to do that, it really came pretty easily after that. Like by the time I got to the end of the first section, the only problem I had really was that I kind of missed Little Brady when I moved on to the second section. But because things are harder when you're an adult, so even though he had challenges when he was a kid, he's got more challenges when he's grown up. But once I kind of figured out that the way I was going to construct it, it really came super easy. And I remember when I finished that book thinking, wow, this is like 100 pages of character development. Does anything really happen? And I'm glad to hear you say that it does.
Oh, no, it definitely does. It really does. And then when you're done with it, upon reflection, it's I thought about this novella for days afterwards just because I wanted to spend more time in that setting. Look, I'll be honest, I did want to spend more time with young Brady because you
Yeah,
write it so well.
I
He's
loved him.
right? He's precocious. I love the relationship that he has with his grandmother. Um, you know, there's a weight to the novella because of what Granny's going through. I mean, she is dying. Brady doesn't really know that, but he kind of does. I mean, he's not, you know, he's a smart
He
kid.
overhears what the adults say. Nobody really says it to him, but
Yeah,
he kind of has it figured out, but he's not ready to really face it yet. So
like kids do. They get the information and they kind of pocket it because the maturity's not there, and it's too overwhelming, to even deal with. So there's a weight to it, but and you do the same with, especially in the Legend of Charlie Fish. Um, there are stakes and there are heavy themes to it, but you never ever shy away from the humor that you write and being able to lift a mood within a scene with a sentence or two. And I love that ability. I'm a little jealous of it as well. That ability that you have where you'll start a paragraph off and it will be okay. We're kind of getting to like the heart of it here. This is some heavy stuff, and then you'll just tweak it at the end and it just lifts it right up, but it also like it resonates deeper because of it. Josh Rountree, god damn it.
thanks, that's awesome. I mean, I don't know, man. I get really in the weeds putting together sentences and paragraphs. It's my um, I'm not I don't love the process of plotting, but I love the process of like putting the words together and making them sound cool. So I think that's my strength versus actual. I don't think I could actually do like a thriller plot or something like that. But I
Never
like
say
doing.
never.
Yeah, never say never.
Well, I mean, I remember I had to reach out to you after I read The Legend of Charlie Fish because I was like, wait a minute, this is this son of a bitch's first novel? Are you kidding me? And I know you had been writing for ages prior to that, so I don't want to make
Yeah,
it
there's
sound
like
like
5 or 6 novels that never saw the light of day.
there you go. But I was
Thankfully.
floored because of that intricate way that you construct your sentences and you build upon it and you create this incredible flow. And again, I don't want to turn this into the Josh Roundtree, put you on my shoulders and lift you up, but why not? You have this uncanny ability to create that flow that I look for in a novel, where you take us on a ride. We never can really get ahead of where you want us to go, which I greatly appreciate in an author. I never want to be two steps ahead, whether it's a film or a work of fiction.
Right.
And I never get that with you. And you're always taking me on a journey where whatever's around the next bend is wholly surprising and startling, but it makes perfect sense. And then, you're a three-peat here because some authors, um, the maybe the bus gets a little rickety at the end, third act kind of.
Mhm.
You stick the landing time after time after time, and I don't want to jinx you, but is how do you do that from your perspective? And you've mentioned that you're more of a plotter, not a pantser. But
Oh no, I'm more of a pantser.
are you? Oh, maybe that's the answer then.
Yeah, when you talk about not getting ahead, I'm only as far as I've written in the story. It really, so when I start a book out, I kind of just set mile markers. So I never create characters ahead of time. I never um, just do a thorough outline of a story. I will go, okay, here's my story idea. I've got one or two people that I'm thinking about who are going to be in here. Uh, how does this end? And I try and set myself an ending to shoot towards. And then I figure out, okay, so probably this is going to happen. A, B, and C are all going to happen before I get there. And those are like my mile markers that I know I have to pass before I get to the end.
Okay.
And I start writing the story, and it just sort of reveals itself, as weird as it
Ah,
sounds, but I can't. I've tried plotting, and I really can't. But if I do it this way, it seems to work for me. And inevitably, that ending that I set for myself almost always changes, and
changes.
it moves around as the story goes. But yeah, I really don't do any kind of outlining ahead of time.
Josh, Joe, don't change a damn thing. Just keep doing what you're doing because I think that is the answer that you don't know the ending. You construct these endings that when I look back on it, I can't figure out how it could have gone any other way. It just you nail it each and every time. This ending really rocked me. Like I said, it's melancholy yet tender. I don't want to like I have a big mouth, so I don't want to spoil anything. But
But it's
but
exactly what it has to be, I think.
exact. Thank you.
So,
Well
which
said. I'm
is
gonna
what I was
shut up.
trying to go for. So yeah, I think it's if you look how everything went ahead of time. I think that again, I don't want to spoil it either, but I think that it's sort of an inevitable way for it to end, which is what you're always shooting for.
You do this incredible thing though, and I literally giggled out loud when I read it the last couple of pages, and you make sure though that you leave us with just these very definitive little scares. It's super atmospheric, and you kind of sum up what has happened and what is going on, but you leave these little notes of unease that lingered with me for days
And
afterwards.
I don't like to explain everything. That's the thing. I love, as a reader, I love ambiguous endings
Same as
that leave me thinking like, oh, did that, or wait, it could be this. So this one, there are some fairly cut and dried developments at the end of it, but certainly it doesn't explain ever exactly what's happened with everybody.
mm-mm. And we'll leave it there because listeners, viewers, this ending is wholly satisfying. You will be racing through the novella to get to the end now that we're talking about it. But yeah, I mean, it just really it didn't pull any punches, and I walked away. I was like, God, you did it again, Roundtree.
I'm so glad you liked it.
We need to talk about one thing though. One thing
Okay.
stands out to me. Okay, could we talk about the Rock House?
Yeah.
Is this so? This is based off of your grandmother's
That's a story
notes.
that I found in her notes, basically. Yeah.
The
Like
Rock House seems like it could be a novel unto itself.
Uh, totally. I was doing that section when I was writing through that section. I was like, I at least need to write a short story about this because you could make it super creepy. Basically, this house in West Texas that people used to tell stories about that had been there since the late 1800s, mid 1800s, and people who would be riding through there on horseback would come to this house, and there was always a meal waiting for them. There were no people there, but there was always like a warm meal kind of waiting for them as they went through there. And
So
I
scary.
mean, I had 14 short story ideas when I read that immediately, and I was like, "How do I do this?" And I just haven't had time to do it. But yeah, that was it's pretty creepy and cool.
I just know that when I read it, I was like, Josh is going to circle back to this one. It's too
I feel like
weird.
it's
It's too
part.
atmospheric.
I feel like it belongs in my Texas monster verse with like the and maybe these are all in the same world and I just don't know it yet. But I feel like those that belongs in with Charlie Fish and Frank Lightning and who knows what
Right?
else.
Oh, I hope we get a return to it. And I know you, so we're going to get a return to it. All right. We talked about the changing photo and the rock house. The windshield fascinated me that a family was basically talking to the departed through a windshield, which I think is the
Yeah,
best thing I've ever heard.
it's so weird, and that one she wrote about several times, and she talked about in the paper. And yeah, the family just somehow created an Ouija board with their windshield, and would had this ghost that hung out with them and would always reveal things, and they tended to be true. Like he would let them know when their kids were out doing stuff they weren't supposed to do, and just he just was this guy. And apparently, I don't know if I put it in the book or not, but like his payment was he wanted to watch TV, so they would have to like put it on certain TV stations and like leave
Great.
that on for him, for a while. So yeah, that's kind of a funny story.
Now, was your grandmother, she was researching Roanoke in real life, right?
He was not in real life. That
Okay.
I did that because I knew I was going to have this town disappear, and I wanted to
Disappear.
have that resonance with the Roanoke thing. But yeah,
Well,
that wasn't she definitely. I'm sure she was interested in it. She always was talking about different folklore and this and that, and anything creepy that had happened. She was probably digging into it, but that's not anything that she ever talked to me about.
it's funny because that's now you're tiptoeing on the Northeast. That's one of our claim to
Oh, for
famous.
sure. Yeah, it's I took a lot of this just as memories of how I think it was. And I think that's what's kind of interesting to me. Like the woman in this book is not my grandmother, as she was, I'm sure, because I'm only using how I remember her as a
As a
9 year old.
kid.
And she
Yeah.
died when I was 17, so I'm trying to go back to those really early memories of kind of how I felt about that time and letting that inform it. And I think that's where some of that sort of golden age of childhood stuff comes out of the mix, maybe. But yeah, I was really just kind of trying to build fictions out of my memories with that.
Nostalgia is it's such a wonderful thing, but it's a son of a bitch as well because it's like blown glass. You can bend it in any shape that you want,
Yeah,
you know?
totally, totally. Like I know that most of the things that we understand when we're very little children, are completely different than what we thought they were. So I'm just trying to go with that version of kind of how I remember that time.
It's funny, my wife and I, we talk about it all the time. We kid each other because there'll be things that my two daughters would complain about when they were much, much younger. And we're like, this is what they're going to be talking about in their 30s and 40s, around the Thanksgiving table, and they'll have versions of it that are so opposite of what actually happened, but it'll be set in stone. And they'll be like, you were terrible parents. I didn't get the blueberry yogurt. And I'm like, oh, okay. I guess
Yeah, we all
guilty.
have these truths from childhood that are just like who knows what the reality is.
I'm just gonna lean into it. I'm like, "You're right. I'm a
Yep.
terrible person. Yeah, you're right. You're right." Alright, catch me up on, what is on the horizon. I know right now we're supporting, Summer in the House of the Departed, and I hope to goodness sake that you're taking a little bit of a break because you've been churning them out, but don't take too much of a break. What can we look forward to?
Yeah, we just kind of hit that perfect storm all of a sudden because I had Frank Lightning come out in July and then Summer in the House of the Departed come out in August, and that no, not intending to have that happen back to back, but it just sort of worked out that way with two different publishers. So it's been a lot of work and a lot of fun, promoting those. I finished writing another novella that I am shopping to publishers right now. And so
Okay.
I can't say a ton about that one yet, but it's, fingers crossed that I find a home for it. And it's something completely unlike all this other stuff. And then I'm about maybe 2/3 of the way through a grimdark fantasy novel that I'm writing. I wanted to do something different. I very rarely write secondary world fantasy. I've published a few stories, most of them 20 years ago now, that were secondary world fantasy in various magazines. But something fun that I just wanted to do, and so I'm working on that, and hopefully it's good. I don't know. It's such a departure for me that we'll see. And then after that, I hope to dive in on another monster book that goes in the Frank and Charlie world. So we'll see. Uh, there's an endless flow of ideas. I can't keep up with them all. So there's too many projects that I want to work on.
You owe me a werewolf, so I'm holding you to
I
it.
definitely have a werewolf planned. I don't know if it's the next one, but I have one planned. So
All right, all right. And look, no rush. I'm gonna read everything you ever publish. I kind of love the fact that you're mixing up genres a little bit.
mhm.
This is very fascinating to me. I cannot wait to see what Josh Roundtree does in that arena. I'll be there for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to make it fairly dark and still keep some of the horror in there, but I feel like a lot of times when I'm writing, I'm like, okay, so who's influencing me on this? And this one is sort of me trying to do, and it's not this because they're both incredible, but I'm trying to do something that's a cross between like My initial thing was Cormac McCarthy, like Blood Meridian, but a fantasy, right? So, but I think it's like Cormac McCarthy, but with some Michael Moorcock, who I was a formative, influence for me. And I didn't even realize until about halfway through. I'm like, oh, I'm really riffing on Moorcock here. This is cool. So
That's fantastic.
we'll see if it turns out, readable or not.
Oh, well, look, I don't worry about that. Page length, what are we talking here? How long do you think this one's gonna
I'm
be?
shooting for like 350, 400 pages. Like
Okay.
the thing with Charlie Fish is obviously a really short novel. Frank Lightning is pretty short. It's only about 65,000 words. I'm shooting for 90 to 100 on this one, so that's not long for a fantasy novel, but it's long for me. So
All right, well, I cannot wait for it. I will be writing a review of Summer in the House of the Departed. Again, everyone, link below to Josh's Instagram, which please follow Josh. I know you post your events there, your updates, and just the cool things that you're doing in life. And the link to buy the novella and all of Josh's works are right down below. You are one of my favorite authors, and you are also one of my favorite guests. I love having you on. Promise me you'll come back.
I will absolutely come back anytime. I love hanging out, and I appreciate
Uh,
it.
Anytime. I mean, look, you've earned it. Just keep writing stellar fiction, and yeah, like I said, you're a key under the mat guest now, so you come back anytime you want.
Awesome, awesome. Well, you can't keep me away.
And look, I'm cooking up something. I'm going to hit you up in a couple of weeks, and we'll do another deep dive into some horror movies. I've got some ideas cooking for the new year. How's
Okay.
that sound?
I'm ready. I am ready. I uh I love horror movies. I finally got to see Weapons last night. It took me too long to see it, and I'm extremely blown away. Like I
Right?
liked it better than Barbarian, and I like Barbarian. So
Barbarian was my favorite horror of 2022. Between Sinners and Weapons, I think it's neck and neck. It's a photo finish. But I think Weapons is going to pull it out for my favorite horror movie
I
of
think so too. And
2025.
I'm exactly in the same place. I'm like Sinners and Weapons are just like right here together.
What a year!
And what I haven't seen, and I'm finally going to see and see if I can come out the other side of it is Bring Her Back.
This
I've heard
one
that movie
is
is like will shake you.
it's a
So
gut punch.
yeah, but I love those guys' first movie. Gosh, I can't.
Talk to
For
me.
yeah, talk to me. And I think I heard it's maybe kind of set in the same world, but it's a different story, or maybe that's just something.
No, I think you're right. I think it is set in the same world,
Talk to me
but
was really great. So I definitely want to see that. But yeah, I have heard that it's not, don't just sit down with your popcorn and go at it. You've got to sort of prepare yourself.
it is like I said. There are movies that hit you in the kidneys and leave a mark. This is absolute. You could see the boot print. When you leave the theater. Sally Hawkins just crushes in this movie. And then the child actors are phenomenal as well, which is really difficult. I mean to get those
Yeah.
kind of performances out of young actors. But yeah, look, do me a favor and just DM me after you watch it. I want to
I
get your
will.
thoughts.
I
All right.
will.
All
But
right,
yeah,
Josh.
I am. You're right. It's been an amazing year for horror movies and
We're
books.
spoiled. We're spoiled, and because of the festival stuff that I've seen at Fantasia and Brooklyn Horror Fest is coming up, and Fantastic Fest just ended. So I'm going to sound like I'm a braggart now, but it's my job. I watch films that are going to come out in 26, so I know of a couple that are really going to land, hopefully, and there's good stuff on the horizon.
Awesome. I'll be there.
All right, sounds good. Josh Rountree, you are just the best author and one of the best guests I've ever spoken with. And like I said, you're welcome back anytime. I will talk to you soon. And until then, everybody, the links are below. Buy these books. We've got Halloween coming up and the holidays shortly after. This book is a fantastic stocking stuffer. Get on it.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Josh,
I really appreciate it.
anytime, my friend. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye bye.